Well, hello again, and this is the next decade in my story. I realised I'm not important and that people have suffered way more than me, but my story touched me deeply as a highly sensitive person. But also I did encounter loads of obstacles that I had to overcome in my life, and it's helped me today because I am stronger today than I think I've ever been in my life. And I was always called a strong person, but I am much, much stronger because I understand myself. I understand what to look for when I am maybe suffering the beginnings of depression. I know what to look for. I know how to deal with it. But anyway, my 30s started off with the tragic death of my sister-in-law, her husband and two friends in a car accident. And this was 5 years after Tom and I got married, and 6 years after I lost my mum and was told I couldn't have children. And after my mum's death, it took a few years for it to really affect me. And it affected me in a physical way because I got glandular fever, which I was really very ill. And from that, I ended up with ME. And I found it very difficult to function because I was exhausted. I had to stay in bed a lot of the time. And many people didn't understand that. But that's okay. I have learned in my life if people haven't actually physically suffered things or had it within their family, then they don't get it. And that's fine. But that led to agoraphobia. Now, I can't exactly remember when the agoraphobia started. It started before I had children, and we were fortunate enough to adopt children at the age when I was 38. And I will go into that later. This is the highlight of my 30s. And at the end of my 30s, my dad died, which it was a mixed decade of emotions. But the agoraphobia taught me many things. I was petrified to go outside. And I think it was a result of David and Prue dying in the car accident. I took a panic attack in a shop at the end of the road. And from that day, I found it hard to go out of the front door. And it took 4 years of a nurse giving me graded exposure. So I went to the front door for a week or so till I could do that, and then I put my foot outside the door, and then I crossed to the pavement. And this took weeks, and then I went to the pavement across the road. I walked to the post box just up the road and back to my house. And I was shaking, quaking, terrified. Because physically I really was, it was dreadful. And I felt so much guilt, so much, again, the guilt of, I've got such a wonderful life with, Tom. Why am I having to go through all this? But Tom was so supportive and we got through it together. And eventually I got back out, I got driving again. I was able to sit in a cinema, although I still have to sit at the end of the row, but that's okay. So sometime around my 30s too, I was admitted for psychiatric treatment because I had a deep depression, and I was given electric shock treatment, a 6, which they still do in this area, although I have not had it for years and I would not take it again because it blanked out my memory. I have found medication that works for me, and I'm not zoned out or anything like that. I've got an antidepressant that works. It took years of trying to find out the right one, but I found it. And depression doesn't rule my life. When I'm really bad, I know it'll pass. I don't complain about it. I have had hospital admissions, but I understand myself, and I understand other people who have suffered. So when I was around 38, we were put on the adoption list, and because Tom and I, we'd been on the list for 12 years, but our name came up, and it's a rigorous, they find out all about you, so there's no warts and all. So they knew all about my psychiatric past and how I had endured it, how Tom and I had got through it strongly. And our marriage was stronger every time. So they thought since I had been through everything, then I could handle anything that was handed to me. And we were absolutely gifted with two beautiful boys. The first one arrived on Valentine's Day 1989, aged 10 weeks, and our second son, who's not a brother, arrived in October 1991. So blessed. And I will talk about my boys later. My dad died just 3 months before the second child came to us. And I did feel an orphan, an adult orphan. So that's very quick. I'm looking at my time and I can only spend about 7 minutes at the most because I don't have enough memory. Again, have a good day. Enjoy the moment, live in the moment, and be good to yourself. Don't let others pull you down. All my friends here who are suffering just now, and I know there are people suffering, I send you my love. You don't know me, but I do send my love.